Pope in Belgium promises to help abuse victims after hearing of their trauma and needs. Brussels AP Pope Francis promised Saturday to offer all the help we can to aid clergy sexual abuse victims after a group of Belgian survivors told him firsthand of the trauma that had shattered their lives and left many in poverty and mental misery. Francis' visit to Belgium has been dominated by the abuse scandal, with King Philippe and Prime Minister Alexander De Croo both blasting the Catholic Church's dreadful legacy of priests raping and molesting children and its decades-long cover-up of the crimes. Francis met for more than 2 hours late Friday with 17 survivors who are seeking reparations from the Church for the trauma they suffered and to pay for the therapy many need. They said they gave Francis a month to consider their requests, which the Vatican said Francis was studying. There are so many victims. There are also so many victims who are still completely broke, survivor Koen van Sumera told the Associated Press. I have also been lucky enough to get a diploma and build a life for myself. But there are so many people who are completely broke and who need help and who cannot afford it and who really need urgent help now. Van Sumera said he was encouraged by the positive meeting with the Pope, but was waiting to see what comes of it. The meeting itself was intense, victims said. It was at certain moments very emotional, and at certain moments it was very rough. When the Pope was told things he did not agree with, he also let it be known, so there was real interaction, Van Sumera said. He said he hoped as a first step that the Pope would receive the victims at the Vatican in the spring during Holy Week. And then we can not only celebrate the resurrection of Christ, but perhaps also the resurrection of all victims in Belgium, he said. On Saturday, during a meeting with Belgian clergy and nuns at the Kokelberg Basilica, Francis acknowledged that the abuse scandal had created atrocious suffering and wounds and undermined the faith. There is a need for a great deal of mercy to keep us from hardening our hearts before the suffering of victims so that we can help them feel our closeness and offer all the help we can, he said. He said the Belgian Church must learn from victims and serve them. Indeed, one of the roots of violence stems from the abuse of power when we use the positions we have to crush or manipulate others, he said. Francis has met with victims in the United States, Ireland, and Canada, as well as in multiple occasions at the Vatican. He has cracked down on some bishops who failed to protect their flocks by passing new church rules on investigations and punishments. But the scandal has continued to fester, and Francis' record is uneven, with several high-profile cases still pending or seemingly ignored. Most galling to Belgians was that it took the Vatican 14 years to laicize Bruges Bishop Roger Vengelo, who admitted in 2010 to having abused his nephew for 13 years. Francis defrocked him in March in a move widely seen as attempting to remove a problem before his visit. After the encounter, Francis went to the royal crypt in the Church of Our Lady to pray at the tomb of King Baudouin, best known for having refused to give a parliament-approved bill legalizing abortion his royal assent, one of his constitutional duties. Baudouin stepped down for one day in 1990 to allow the government to pass the law, which he was required to sign, before he was reinstated as king. Francis praised Baudouin's courage when he decided to leave his position as king to not sign a homicidal law, according to the Vatican summary of the private encounter, which was attended by Baudouin's nephew, King Philippe, and Queen Mathilde. The Pope then referred to a new legislative proposal to extend the legal limit for an abortion in Belgium from 12 weeks to 18 weeks after conception. The bill failed at the last minute because parties in government negotiations considered the timing inopportune. Francis urged Belgians to look to Baudouin's example in preventing such a law, and added that he hoped Baudouin's beatification cause would move ahead, the Vatican said. With the visit, Francis waded straight into Belgian politics and dragged the royal family along with him. The royals are bound by strict neutrality, and the palace immediately issued a statement distancing itself from the visit. The statement said the spontaneous visit, on the Pope's request, was not part of the official program, and added the king and queen were there only, out of hospitality toward the Pope. Francis started the day by having breakfast coffee and croissants with a group of 10 homeless people and migrants who were looked after by the St. Gilles parish of Brussels. They sat around a table at the entrance of the parish church and told him their stories and gave him bottles of beer that the parish makes, La Biche de St. Gilles. The proceeds of the beer sales help fund the parish's charity works. Francis thanked them for the beer and breakfast and told them that the church's true wealth was in caring for the weakest. If we want to truly know and show the church's beauty, we should give to one another like this, in our smallness, in our poverty, without pretexts and with much love. The breakfast encounter was presided over by Marie-Françoise Boverel, an adjunct episcopal vicar for the diocese. The position is usually filled by a priest, but Boverel's appointment has been highlighted as evidence of the roles that women can and should play in the church. Associated Press religion coverage receives support through the AP's collaboration with The Conversation US, with funding from Lilly Endowment Incorporated. The AP is solely responsible for this content.